You can cry. You can cry all you want. By the way, it's great to cry, but we're gonna do it anyway.
If you got something, let it rip.
I'm never going to do this again.
Everybody grapples with this idea that you're really a fraud.
Like, I'm alive.
And that's when it clicked with me. And I thought, these are not superheroes. These are just men that can do super things.
This is Matt Del Negro, and you are listening to the new stripped down 10,000 No's. Today's episode was ripped directly from one of my Insiders Acting Community Zooms, where I've been mentoring actors since 2021. This clip was with one of our monthly Industry Insider VIPs. If you want to be a part of this community, stick around to the end to find out how.
What we do here is go back.
Welcome to another episode. This is a bonus special episode of 10,000 No's with my friend Will McCormack, who I have not seen in a long time. We're putting it out now. I believe it will be January 7th, because out of about 115 submissions of short films that are eligible for an Academy Award, his film that he made, a documentary with Rashida Jones, is on the list of like 15. So we're hoping it's going to have a nomination. And I may be speaking out of turn, but I believe he is already an Oscar winner, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm going to do the Jason Bateman Wikipedia intro for Will, because he didn't send me a bio, so it's his fault. So he's going to get stuck with Wikipedia. Known for writing the screenplay for Celeste and Jesse Forever, alongside Rashida Jones. I was in it. I may or may not have done some unsavory things with Rashida in that film. Wrote the screenplay also with Rashida for Toy Story 4. The first one earned nominations for Independent Spirit Award for Best First Screenplay and the Black Reel Award for Outstanding Screenplay, Adapted or Original. He has been on Sopranos, Brothers and Sisters, In Plain Sight as an actor, American Outlaws, Syriana, Wrinkle in Time. He won a Lucille Lortel Award for his role in the off-Broadway one-act The Long Christmas Ride Home, which I did not know until just reading that now. I'm sure he's done a bunch of other stuff that I am missing and leaving out. What's the film that you won the Academy Award for?
I won in 2020 for an animated short film that I made with Michael Govier called If Anything Happens, I Love You, which you can catch on Netflix. And it's about parents grieving the death of a daughter who dies in a school shooting. So it was a really, truly rewarding film to make. And it's out there. You can catch it, but we'll probably get into it. But I end up writing about or trying to tell stories about loss. It's something I'm really interested in, but I usually end up working on things I'm grappling with in my own life. I'm sort of very interested in loss and grief. And anyway, yeah, it was called If Anything Happens, I Love You, and you can watch it on Netflix. It's streaming.
Very cool. It's been really cool to see from afar how you have blossomed into this incredible writer, because I knew you originally as an actor. And then Celeste and Jesse, yes, you had written, but you and Rashida, do you write everything together, or you do things solo and then also write? How does that work?
You know, we've really found a rhythm with each other creatively. We sort of weave in and out of each other's lives, but she was the first person that I ever sold a movie with and a TV show. And I think we both gave each other the courage and the confidence to write, because we both had enormous fear around it. And we just had each other's backs. But now we work together, we work separately, but we sort of weave in and out of each other's lives. But we've always been able to maintain our friendship first. And I root for her. I want her to explore her creative interests in directing and writing, producing, but we always love working with each other. We're already working on another movie.
That's great. Yeah, I haven't seen her in a while either. And I listened to her incidentally on Smartless within the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, and really felt like she sounds like she's in a great place. Like, she just said some things that were really wise. I think Will Arnett was going through some life things, and her take on it and where she sounds like she is with having lost her father, which I don't know at the time, she may not have even lost him yet, but She just seems like she like has kind of blossomed and become it just sounded like settled. And that's the cool thing about seeing you is that I feel like all of us in our own ways. I don't even remember when Celeste and Jesse was, but that was probably like 2012-ish, maybe. Was it that one?
I think
Okay.
it was 2011. Yeah, end of 2011. Yeah.
So even in that little, just since this is kind of 10,000 no's and we talk about the journey and everything, I think it's cool just to note that even where everybody was at that point compared to now, I feel like everybody is kind of like less anxious or just like more dropped into themselves. And it's like you kind of are who you are, for better or for worse. It feels like there's less manic kind of energy. I don't know. I feel that even just seeing you sitting there, you just seem so chill. And like, maybe that's not the whole story, but it feels like it just hearing Rashida, it was like she had come to a place where she kind of was like, this is what it is. This is what I do. She's had massive success and I didn't think, maybe changed, but maybe in a good way, like exposed to things and kind of dropped in.
Yeah, truly. I mean, Rashida is a force of nature and so wise and so multi-talented, the things that she's able to do. And I think one of the things that has made Rashida still so relevant in the business for so long and is she remains curious and she's always learning and she's always a student, and that takes real humility. But yeah, I mean, in terms of like settling into ourselves at this point in our lives, and we're all around the same age. I mean, I think for me personally, I've been able to reconnect to why I do all of this in the first place in a way that feels true and feels pure for me. And I'm falling back in love with it for the reasons why I did in the first place. After you get through sort of the rigmarole of the business and the heartbreak and the heartache and the despair and the rejection, you get back to the curiosity and the enthusiasm and the passion and the love for it, which is like why I signed up to do this crazy thing in the first place.
Yeah. And I feel the same way. And before we actually logged on, Will and I were talking, I was telling him about this podcast and even this virtual group that we have, kind of this mentorship. He was complimentary of it, which is nice because you don't even know who's like clocking anything that you're doing. So it's just kind of cool. Like, oh, he knows what I'm doing. But I was also saying something to the effect of, it's not like it's making me tons of money or it's doing anything career-wise, although I think in some ways it probably does. But for my soul, it's what you were just saying. It's like it's reconnected me to why I do this and the purity of it and the real, like, no BS, authentic reasons for chasing this kind of crazy business. And Will said, yeah, it's kind of like making short independent documentaries, it's like you're just
up for the money.
Do it for the love, which is kind of a perfect segue for a swimming lesson. And am I butchering it? Is it a swim lesson or a swim?
It's called, a swim lesson. Yeah.
A swim lesson. Okay.
Yeah.
So I loved it. It's about 20 minutes long, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
To me, it was like such a metaphor for all of this that we're talking about, but also for parenting. It's basically, and I'll kind of, maybe I'll shut up and let you describe what it is, and then I can kind of weigh in with my thoughts.
Yeah, A Swim Lesson is a 20-minute short documentary that you can watch in LA Times, PBS, or Doc Plus. And it's an ode to an everyday hero, a swim teacher named Bill Marsh, who teaches kids to face their fears in the overwhelming unknown of the swimming pool. And, our kids, Rashida's son and my wife and our son, one of them and the other son's about to take classes with Bill soon. They took swimming lessons with Bill, and it was just something that felt totally, living in Southern California, there's a lot of pools, and the first thing you think about is your kid's safety. Kids dying in pools is the number one cause of preventable death in kids ages 0 to 4. And it's something that the first thing you think about when you have kids in SoCal is, oh, I got to get these kids in the pool. And it was something that felt just like a rite of passage as a parent, and something that felt pretty ordinary. And it was a real true testament to Bill that something so ordinary and mundane felt extraordinary. This guy was saying things to the kids that felt like these universal truths for anyone of any age going through any hardship. And my wife, who's a great actress and a producer, said, "We got to make a movie here. This is incredible." And I'm so glad we did, because, and it's truly a testament to Bill, because it's, a great teachers have the ability to do that, take something that you do every day and find real, just the heights of it. The kids in the pool felt like an opera. There was agony and ecstasy and despair and hope and vomit and belching. And, it just felt like we should film it. And I'm so glad we did, because it's just been such a rewarding movie to make. And it hits on so many different levels with so many different audiences. It's just been like a lamplight in the dark for all of us. And what was a pretty bad year with strikes,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what, I watched it and I was like, oh, I'll just write down if there's any quotes that kind of, it's literally my notes. It just says Will's doc. And then it's like you keep on scrolling, and there were all these really poignant quotes. And they just came naturally out of, like you said, it's this guy teaching these kids in his backyard how to swim, and the parents are there watching, and the parents are nervous and they have anxiety. And, it just, in such a simple, succinct way, in 20 minutes, it kind of like nailed it on parenting in the current day from my perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think, I think it, a lot of things have gotten completely out of hand these days, like sports for kids. Like, I grew up playing sports, and it's like, you played your sport in that season. You didn't pay for it. You paid like maybe $2 or you played for your school or whatever. Now my kids are on like, club this, and you're like getting, freaking hotel rooms in DC, or people are flying to Florida. Luckily, I haven't had to do that yet, but it's like, it's crazy. And this little microcosm of something that most parents go through in some way, shape, or form just kind of really displayed the anxiety of the parents to want to kind of protect their kids. And then luckily a great teacher saying, hey, the best thing you could do for your kids right now is like, stand over there, observe, let them cry it out, let them fail, let them learn from their failure. It was really incredible.
Yeah.
I think there was a quote, So this was the quote that I saw. Will posted something. This is, I guess, a shout out to social media, which gets demonized. This is how I even knew that he had this film, and why I even DM'd him. There was a quote. It said, "We chase our kids' eternal happiness rather than carry their hand through the fire." And I think I DM'd him and said, like, oh my God, that's not like, yes, absolutely. And then
Totally.
It started a little back and forth. Then he sent me the film. I watched it, and like, just I can pull out quotes, or we'll just do one. We don't have to go through all the quotes that got me, but here's the first one, and it's just so we don't bore people with this. 4 minutes and 30 seconds in, it says, "You can have all the feelings you want. Be scared, be happy, whatever, but you have to stay in till the class is over." I mean, that could be advertisement for 10,000 no's. That's kind of exactly the way I see it, with whether it's acting or anything else. It's like,
Yeah.
good days, bad days, but if you really love it, you're going to keep doing your craft and getting better. You get knocked down. Some days people love you, the next day they hate you. And if you really love it, you keep going. And like, that's how you swim and become independent.
Yeah, that was one of the first things he said that floored me. And I came to this film in sort of a very emotional place. I had lost both my parents in the last couple of years, and I have young children, and life was feeling very fleeting and evanescent and elusive. And it's felt like hard to grasp. Like it all felt like it was moving so fast. And here was this guy teaching, my son how to swim, and all of a sudden he was flying, and it really was able to, like, it was really sort of just a meditation on presence. But that thing that he said about staying in the pool, that to me was about life. Like I've had some friends in the last couple of years who weren't able to stay until the class is over, who've gotten out of the pool. And he said that, he said that, and I just started weeping on the side of the pool. I'm obviously like, in an emotional place. But you want everyone to try to stay here until the class is over, because it's worth it. But yeah, I mean, it's human nature to want to protect your kids from pain, right? But pain is a part of life. And the best thing that you can do is just be there for them, to not fix it for them, but to know that when they come through it, to just be there on the other side of it, and know that, the cure for the pain is the pain. Like, they're going to have to go through it. And the more that you try to prevent them from facing the pain, the more painful it's going to be. That's such a hard thing to know as a parent, because you just want to protect them, but you can't. You can't protect them. You just have to be there for them.
Yeah. And the more you delay it, the more the wallop when they finally get it. And
Totally true.
so I always say, like, we've been through some ups and downs. It's actually cool to have, this be a friend who I haven't seen in so long, because the things you're talking about, we haven't talked. I'm sorry about your parents. I didn't realize about your mom, but somehow I must have seen your post about your dad. I don't know if that was a year ago or something. And you've been on my mind, because my dad, we're really, I just was in the hospital with him yesterday. It's not great. Maybe there's a bounce back. I don't know. But I've been dealing for the last, year, and intensely for the last 4 or 5 months, in terms of, people not staying until the class is over. Runs in our family. So I've dealt with that even from, my uncle when I was a kid, and so that I didn't know you, I'm sorry about your friends. And I guess the point is, it is just life. Like, nobody gets out unscathed. We all, it doesn't matter, all the career stuff and all that really doesn't matter. I mean, it's fun. I love what I do and all that stuff, but it's like, at the end of the day, but just life is life. And these are some universal truths, which is why this thing spoke to me.
Thank you. And, for us, this felt like the rawest, purest form of that, because it just felt so unvarnished. It was like a little kid in a pool going through this journey that felt Homeric, but it was so simple, so many great writers and philosophers have been saying the same thing in different ways forever, right? Like, the obstacle is the way, the cure for the pain is the pain, which is said before. That's Rumi, the only way out is through. That's Twain, Jay-Z said, you can't run from the pain. You got to run towards it. Like, all of these great minds have been saying the same things in lots of different ways. And for us, this was sort of like our contribution to that idea. Because for me personally, out of great heartache, and out of great loss has come a lot of great work and a lot of joy and a lot of creativity. For me, I've been able to, like, dig into that and mine that. And most things in my life that have been hard, you can come out the other side and really, they're really useful as you get older, Yeah.
Well, something go on.
Yeah, I mean, the Buddha, the joyful participation in the sorrows of the world. It's just something that in life you go through, and you're able to mine as an artist, and that's a privilege.
Yeah. I'm unsure if I can ask about it, but I think I can because you've posted about it and I've taken note. But your sobriety seems like a really incredible journey that I've just like, maybe it's every year that you have an anniversary. I see it, but somehow it always pops up and it's always inspiring. And I feel like when I was watching the film, there were, I mean, I kind of wouldn't even mind. I feel like there was something where I thought, there was something that seemed very related to that.
Bill says to the kids, "You're not in charge."
Yeah,
and as an alcoholic, I've made a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I understand Him. I'm not in charge. Like Thy will be done. I can make choices and I have decisions and I have power, but the truth is there's a gigantic cosmic plan happening here called the universe. And when I'm in line with that, whether that's God for you or whether that's nothingness or whether that, you have to surrender to that. We have choice within that. But for me, I have a higher power that helps me in my life. It'd be too hard without it,
Yeah.
So that's a big part of, my sobriety is my higher power. So when he said to the kids, "You got to stay in the pool," I'm thinking about my friends' loss. When he's saying to the kids, "You're not in charge," I started to think about God. It got really deep very quickly.
No, I'm telling you, there's a reason I have all these quotes. I mean, it's that's what I felt. There were, I wish I could find the one particular line that I thought, but there's, this wasn't what I was thinking, but there's one that says, I just realized we're so much more powerful than we realize. We come up against a problem, we figure out how to fix it. That was one, but there was something else. It was something about surrender. Maybe it's what you said, maybe it's something else. I don't, want to go through right this second, but that, not only are you thinking about your friends and this, but as a viewer, I'm watching it thinking of myself. Am I staying in the game? Am I crying? And I've done all of it. We've all been like those little kids who, how many times have I complained that I didn't get a job that I thought I should get, or complained that something happened to my family that's like, why me?
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing as the kids crying at the edge of the pool and not wanting to go in. It's like, hey, you're here. This is the price of, participation.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what Bill says to the kids that I also found so moving. He says, it's okay to cry. We're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
You can cry. You can cry all you want. By the way, it's great to cry, but we're going to do it anyway. And that's some things I try to say to my kids. It's like, you don't have to like it, but we're going to try to do it. And then you can make a decision on your own, and you can cry, you can scream, you can do whatever you want, but we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, you mentioned Messina before we started and that's something he used to say to me is like, he always looks at me. I'm pretty good at like grinning and bearing it. And like, I'm pretty good at like, no, this happened for a reason. And, and I'm going to frame it in a way that it serves me. And he would kind of say to me, that's great. And that's good. And I want you on that wall because of that quality, but you can cry, you can get pissed. It's not always fair. And I think that's what I've learned maybe in the last, 5-10 years, where I've also just kind of allowed myself to unravel. And then, luckily, I think I naturally do have that reframing thing, probably from the way my parents kind of taught me. But sometimes there was a bit of, maybe it's denial, and like that's not great either. It's okay for those kids to have a fit on the side of the pool as long as they get in and do it,
That's what I'm like when I sit down at my laptop to write a movie. I'm screaming and crying and terrified, but I do it anyway,
Yeah.
It's scary. It's scary to create something. It's scary to make a movie. I mean, these are all, you put this in context, but it's scary to go through life and not know. Not knowing is scary, and
Yeah.
part of the creative process and part of being, a human being in this world is surrendering to the unknown, and doing it anyway.
Mhm.
I mean, I think the thing that you said older, like getting old in your work and having it feel lived in and in our bodies. And, I mean, I think the thing that I'm really truly going for now in my work is that element of surprise, and you only get that by not knowing, by surrendering. I mean, if I know where I'm going and what I'm doing, it's not as interesting if I just surrender to the unknown, because that's where the great stuff happens. You're a great actor. It's like the best things happen when the script goes up in the air and it's totally alive and it's totally new. That's the exciting part, where and as a screenwriter, I have a map of where I'm going, but then the best moments happen where I get lost, and having the courage to just go there is when that's when you get the good shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm thinking, you got a short documentary that, professionally, I hope it wins an Academy Award because it just means it's going to get seen more. Do you have, before we turn it over to a Q&A, do you have a desired outcome? I can think of something where I think it would be cool for this film. Do you have a desired outcome for what this film will do or how it could do it? Like, my thought as we're having this conversation is, how cool if this film were to become like a part of a syllabus and I don't know if college campuses, because I don't think they have parenting classes, but there got to be parenting classes out there. And is there some kind of, I feel like this would make a great educational kind of, it's more than just, it's entertaining, but it's like, it's got something to it that I think is like really, whether it's safety for kids around water. I think I told you my best friend's wife has a place here in Connecticut, in New York, that's Swimfinity, that's like saving lives, teaching infants how to swim. And it's incredible. I've talked to her about this subject. There's that just for safety, because it's such a cause of death in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And then also just for parenting. Like, do you have any plans or wishes or anything of where this could go?
Yeah, I mean, I hope that it inspires people to give kids the gift of swimming. I hope that it inspires people to make kids more safe around pools. Also, the one thing that I've been really touched by is a lot of people have reached out to me and said, this has helped me face fears in my own life, and I don't even have kids. I'm terrified about my relationship. I'm terrified about my parents dying. I'm terrified about this new job. So I think that people facing their fears and knowing that the struggle is the way, that means a lot,
Yeah.
But really encouraging, kids to be safe around pools. And I hope it inspires water safety. And I hope that it inspires people to, make their children safe around water.
Yeah. Well, I'm putting this out there into the universe that I hope I hope it not only gets a nomination, I hope it wins. So then it's somehow placed on, like, the next time I'm on a cross country flight, it's one of the options, that people just, because I think unfortunately with short docs, probably, I don't know anything about that market, but I don't know that they're like a destination unless you know someone who has one. But it's the kind of film that I would love it to land in people's laps. And because I think if they started watching, they'd watch the whole thing. And it's only 20 minutes, but it's like packed with so much wisdom. So I'm hoping it just gets to a place where, in whatever form that is, it's somehow readily available so that people just happen upon it without much effort,
Yeah. I hope so too. I mean, I'm passionate about short form content, truly passionate. Like I could talk forever about it. I think that you can have as a rewarding and cathartic and full experience as 20 minutes as you can in 2 or 3 hours. And I think stories are as long as they need to be, some are, it's like fiction. Some, you can have War and Peace, or you can have a 12-page Joyce Carol Oates story. You can have a Walt Whitman poem, or, you can have an incredible full experience in lots of different forms. So, I mean, If Anything Happens, I Love You was the #1 movie in the world in so many countries. It actually exploded on Netflix. Wow. Yeah. And
Congratulations.
Thank you. It became a TikTok challenge where kids all over the world were watching the movie and seeing when they would cry and if they would cry. And TikTok drove this whole thing. But it was very cool to see a film that we made for next to nothing just explode like that. It was really exciting.
So If Anything Happens, I Love You. I'm going to watch that and probably, force my kids and my wife to watch it with me, because that sounds like exactly. I mean, I'm just thinking of how I am with my dad every time I see him now in the hospital. I'm like, I love you, because I just don't know. But you really don't know with anyone. You don't know when you say goodbye to your kids in the morning. I mean, we have a story here in town of a kid on a Friday afternoon get hit by a car like 4:30 after school. Mm-hmm. It's like none of us has any guarantee of anything. And that's really, I don't even like saying it out loud because but it's true. That's the truth. Is I just pray that it's, not coming my way, but hey, who knows?
All right, that is it. If you dug that clip enough that you want to become a part of this community, just go to 10,000nos.com to join. In the meantime, thanks for listening or watching. Either way, we're glad you're here. Remember, failure is just opportunity in disguise. You can flip the script and make your setbacks serve you. We'll see you next time.